Alright guys, it is my last Toy Fair video. Today I'm talking about the McFarlane Toys walkthrough. We had an amazing rep. She was fantastic. She knew her stuff. Todd McFarlane hired this amazing woman who was kind enough to spend time out of her day to show us what was going on over with McFarlane. The first thing you saw was a Canadian kids line. And then as we walked through the booth, we had the tiny furries, if you will, excuse me. And these are kind of cool. I mean, if I had a kid, I'd probably pick one up for a boy or girl. I mean, they're different. And as you can see in the video, she handed me one of these creatures, and it makes noises and it's interactive. And right there you got the McFarlane logo and whatnot, all that fun stuff. Let's see here. As we moved further on down the line, we went into classic McFarlane Toys, the sports action figures, if you will. I've kind of forgotten how cool the sculpting was on their sports figures. I mean, it's not a line I collect in the slightest, but I know there's a market for it. Obviously, they keep making them, so people are buying them. These are really cool. She was telling us that most of these are out now, but they got stuff in the works, especially with the football line, I believe. And I didn't realize that the NBA figures came with like downloadable codes that you could upload for NBA 2K. So that was very neat. I don't know what else to say about the sports stuff. I truly was blown away just by the level of detail that's there, and I don't think anybody for a second would say McFarlane Toys was never good at sculpting, because they obviously were like the game changers in the industry. I think everybody can agree with that, especially if you listen to Todd recount stories of how his business grew. But very cool. Right here we got into the line that apparently has exploded, and that's of course Fortnite. There were a whole bunch of new figures showing, new vehicles and whatnot. These figures actually look pretty cool. I was fortunate enough to take home a Fortnite figure courtesy of McFarlane Toys. I've opened it. I'll probably do a review about it just to have it on there, just for content for the channel. I'm impressed with the articulation. McFarlane's come a long way, but I know nothing of this game. Not even in the slightest. So to see the popularity of this line just really break down the walls, if you will, and pave the way for the DC and Harry Potter Mortal Kombat line is pretty impressive. And it looks like they're going deep in this line. I know that Epic Games has a big control factor, if you will, over what's released, but what they had showcased here was definitely plenty of cool items, from the shopping cart, which will be great for toy photography, to all the different size figures. They had some bigger figures on display. And I mean, it's just really cool stuff. And then, of course, they had vehicles they were showing. But I mean, look at the detail on that suited guy. That looks pretty dang cool. And I don't know what that thing is. It looks like some parachute flying device. But I mean, it's made for 6-inch scale figures, so that's pretty awesome. It kind of makes you wonder what's going to go on with the DC line. And I'll talk about the DC line more in a moment, but I definitely wanted to showcase what you can expect in terms of vehicles and stuff from Fortnite, because I know there is a huge following out there for that. Like I said, these vehicles look really cool. I may pick up one or two. I don't know yet, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And then, of course, they had their big props and whatnot. These were actually pretty cool. They had a big gun prop, too, that I did not get. But it's nice to see the Fortnite line doing so well. So let's talk McFarlane and DC. Of course, DC, or Warner Brothers, I should say, partnering with McFarlane Toys on 3 different lines: Mortal Kombat, Harry Potter, and of course DC Comics. When we spoke with the rep, we asked questions, one of them provided by Talker Art. Go check out his YouTube channel. And one of those questions was pretty much, hey, like, are we going to go deep with this line? What's to expect? And are we going to have 20 different versions of the same character, or are we looking for definitive editions? Now, to answer the last part of that question first, that one was a little more open-ended, but they are shooting to go deep in the line and really make it as best as they possibly can, especially with Todd's take on the figures. Now, the license does expand to, from what we were told, pretty much anything DC, so that's pretty cool, and it'll be interesting to see how the articulation plays out with these guys as well. Definitely very excited to see the future of DC comics and action figure form get some new love and treatment here, because Mattel's had the license for so long, and those guys really, it's like they sort of gave an effort at the end, but not really. They were trying, but just not hard enough based on what I saw on the figures that I had. But like I said, I'm very excited to see where the DC license goes with Todd McFarlane and company. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Now let's talk Harry Potter. Now, we weren't allowed to take any pictures of the Harry Potter figures just yet, but they showed off some amazing things. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're working from the last film and back, mixed in with like Fantastic Beasts and whatnot. The figures that they did have, I believe it was a Dementor. Who else was there? Harry, Hermione, Ron, and all their Patronuses, and there was somebody else, I think Voldemort, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, that line looks fantastic. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan. I actually like Fantastic Beasts more than Harry Potter, but these figures look amazing, especially the Patronuses. They are very awesome. This line is definitely going to be a surefire hit, and it's in the hands of a Harry Potter fanatic, so you know it's going to be taken care of. And be on the lookout, because I definitely will be reviewing these once they come out. Now, the last line that was kind of like a big surprise was, of course, the Mortal Kombat line, which they announced. Now, they didn't have any figures, like prototypes or anything, but they did have this cool box art for the new Mortal Kombat 11. And when I asked the rep, we were wondering if we could see classic figures. They did say that it is possible for those, but right now they want to get these guys out on to consumers and go from there. They will have about the same amount of articulation as, say, a DC figure and whatnot, or a Fortnite figure, which will be cool. It'll be interesting to see how this line does. I know everybody loves Storm, myself included, so it'll be interesting to see McFarlane's take on the Mortal Kombat line, so stay tuned for that. So moving on from all the big announcements, Game of Thrones was another announcement. They'd already got Series 1 out. I think it just dropped, if I'm not mistaken. But they showed off a lot of new stuff, and they did say in future lines they plan on adding more articulation into the Game of Thrones figure. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on there. Once again, I'm not a big Game of Thrones fan. I've never really watched the show. I've watched a couple episodes. Wasn't my cup of tea, but some cool figures. Of course, Stranger Things. A lot of people who do toy photography love this line because we get little kids to add into our pictures and stuff. McFarlane did give me the 4-pack of the Ghostbuster set. I will have a review of that, but these are actually very cool figures. I definitely dig them a lot. So some very cool stuff there. The upside down one I think just came out, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff there with Stranger Things. What else did they show? Let's see here. Oh, they showed Labyrinth. Now, they'd already had the Bowie figure out for the first one, and now they did the second one, which is very, very nice. I think it looks very cool. The detail on it's just tremendous. I mean, how can you not dig that, even if you're not a big Labyrinth fan? I remember watching that that movie a lot as a kid, and I definitely dug it. I haven't had a chance to mess around with these new Labyrinth figures, but they are very cool. Now, here is something that threw a lot of the community up in arms, and that's the Naturo, is that what it is? I'm not familiar with the line, so please don't hate me. And then, of course, that One Punch Man. The prototype definitely doesn't have all the articulation that they are promising, so it'll be cool to see how that all interacts, as I know a lot of people dig One Punch Man. Once again, it's not something I collect, and I honestly don't know that other line with the prototypes there.
Back in the day, there was why did you not have
some
this?
Call of Duty
ago.
figures
So
that looked like that
it
they
blew up
showed
again.
off.
Like people
Those are
love
cool,
it, and which is why
I'm
we're now bringing Frank Woods and
player either,
right.
So
A lot of again another role play item that we wanted to do.
A lot of them,
Yeah.
How long's the shield licenses they have?
How long's the
I'm
shield
not like
The
a fan of,
the
and
shield
there's nothing wrong
came
with
out
that.
in
But the licenses
September,
that did acquire
So it's been
are
for a
actually
while.
the ones
It's only in
that
GameStop. It's a
appeal
GameStop
to me more
exclusive.
than anything
But
else.
yeah, this is another
So
one
it's
where it's like
cool
it's a
to
role
see
play.
that they just
Okay,
have so
so
many
this
different ones for so many
large set right
different
here,
collectors.
it
And then we
completes
have
the
the
actual
Five Nights at
bedroom.
Freddy's figures.
The
Once again, I don't know anything
which is very
about
cool. So
Five
a
Nights at
lot of
Freddy's.
these
It's not
complete
something I've
current
ever
sets that are out,
collected,
and they actually
nor
say it on the
do I
box.
ever
So a lot of
plan
fans are
to
really talking about
collect,
it.
just to be
225
honest with everyone
pieces.
here.
I know.
Now,
That's
the
a
last
disaster.
thing that they
That would
showed,
keep you busy
I'm definitely a
but we
fan
never,
of
we didn't have it.
is Cuphead.
So
I mean,
literally you
look
guys
at
are
all
over
this
because
cool
30
Cuphead
minutes
stuff
ago,
here.
not here.
Definitely digging this. I will
so
be
we
picking
are
up some of this stuff, and I will
That's awesome.
Right?
have
So
reviews
we
of
are
that.
doing
But look at that
the
whole
casino,
diorama
Chaotic
set
Casino. We're
right there
doing,
with
you know,
Cuphead.
these two
That's
sets right here.
very
We also
cool.
have blind
And then
boxes.
they had
So it's the cool
blind
kind
bag
of, you know,
boxes of
anyone can go and
Cuphead
get
stuff
these.
too,
Do you mind if I
which you'll show
like?
here.
Go ahead.
We'll
And
go and
that
get
pretty
these
much
cool
wraps
little
everything up. So hope you guys
figures and
enjoyed. Any questions, feel free
scavenger
to let
hunt
me
for a
know.
while.